I'm going to go over a few semiconductors on the 5-minute time frame and give you some price targets for Thursday. We ended the day at $57.35, up 0.40%. To the north side from where we are takes us to another level of resistance and a potential take profit area at 57.41. Above that takes us to roughly 57.75. And should we be so lucky as to get to this level on Thursday, that would be 58.09. To the south side, back at the middle of the trend and the baseline, takes us to roughly 56.73. Below that, roughly 56.03. This is another potential buy-in area, as well as this level at 55.70 and roughly 55.35, another level of support and also a potential buy-in area. But from where we are to get down to here, most likely will not happen in one day. Looking left, you can see the clear buy-in level right here along this line. That is support, just grinding down and then finally making it all the way up to resistance from this level. Slowly, again, grinding down, and this is support. So at some point, I anticipate a buy-in at support, and that's what happened right here. And then we sold off again and then ran right through, created this tiny little gap that already closed out. And speaking of gaps, this one opened up on Monday, December 30th, and is still in play for the upcoming week. And that will eventually take us to 58.29. But right now we are in a downward channel still. You can see that. And I will anticipate price to hover around this area before we bounce off of that or we break down from that area. But if we go sideways, this is where price could also bounce off of this support line. And in the new year, I'm switching my middle of the trend lines, which I like to mark out. That was in yellow for 2024. And in the new year, I'm going to switch it to this color. That way I can see in the big picture at a very quick glance when I'm on the daily, the weekly, the monthly time frame, what those lines are. And let's look and see about the other gaps. So this one opened up on the 16th of December. And did it touch? Yeah. It looks like it may have just barely grazed it, but I'm going to give it a win. If you feel like it didn't, then right there, 100% closed out. But I think that one closed pretty much right there. And that took us to 59.76 at resistance, falling down to a support level down here and then bouncing off of that. What is happening on the monthly time frame? That's where I like to troll and look for values, different targets here. And we are falling on the monthly, not quite at the oversold area yet, but the lowest I need to move this out of the way. Let me double click on this to open up the box. We touched right there. So that's the lowest we've been. Will we get there? I don't know. But when and if we do, if we even crack below that line, I will anticipate a reversal because that's what always happens. All I do with this level for the oversold and overbought area is just use this as support and resistance. And my buy line is down here. And let me look at this on the weekly. Also turning down. This is the monthly line, and on the weekly, we've gone down even more. But the lowest on the weekly is right here at 22. And we are still going down. And then on the daily, turning up. Speaking of the daily, I'm going to give you some targets for microchip. Let's see, we're at 57.35 right here. So to the north side, this is one level of resistance, another level of resistance. There are plenty levels in between. I'm just giving you a few that I like to track and trade off of. So this is the middle of the trend at 73.65 right here. And then obviously in the big picture, 2 standard deviations takes us to $90.03. The 1-year price target is 83.81. 83. Where would 83? Oh, I marked it out. No. 83.31 roughly, right around there. So I marked out this line. Why did I mark that out? I'm not really sure. Maybe that was the old price target and it's gone down and I just didn't make myself a note. So I'm just going to delete that. Oh, wait a minute. Before I leave this area, the next level to the downside is basically in that purple line on the 5-minute. I marked out as the middle of the trend, but the middle of the trend on the 5 is at -2 standard deviations on the daily. And on the daily, you can see price just grinding along this line till it fell down, bounced back up, back down to support, a bounce off of that, and now we're just, again, making our way slowly down because on the daily, still turning downward. And what is happening with these gaps? So clearly I did not go back and clean this up, but it touched, not there, but right there on roughly Friday, April the 12th. It's going to give you a different line when I switch it over to the 5 because you really have to mark it on the time frame that you originally did this and not go to another time frame because it gets wonky when you go back to the original time frame that you traced it on. All right, and what is that? I think I used to just do levels, and I'll have to go back on the 5-minute and see what was happening there. And then this got marked out, so I will clean this one up. That touched right there on, what the heck? Oh no, what? Thursday, January the 4th. That makes no sense. Oh yeah, the 24th. Hello, we're in the 25th. All right. Like I knew there was something off and it was me. Oh, and look at this gap right here. We gapped up. I anticipated to fill to the downside and it did. That one touched right here on the 4th as well. We had 2 gaps close out to the downside. I'll just mark it on the daily here so you can see what I'm talking about. That touched. All right, and then we bounced off of that. So that's done. That's done. And then I've got to clean up this. There are so many tickers that I track that I get so busy I don't go back. So that touched right there to the upside. That is no longer in play. We ran up to retrace all the way back down and then even lower. Okay, that's done. What's happening here? This is done, touched right there to the north side at 72.05, done, done. And then we bounced off of that support, went sideways. And then look at this micro one. Where did we touch? Or did we on the daily? Yeah, we did right there. And then look at this gap too. Look, did that gap close? I'm going to draw it out for you and you can see. I love tracking gaps. That way I know when to hop on for a trade or when to get off the gravy train. It gives you a better probability of completing whatever you think price is going to go to. So we gapped down. So then I anticipated it to fill to the upside and wait a minute, that's not a gap there. No. Oops. I gotta delete this. That was not a gap. Like that doesn't look right because that wasn't a gap. Okay, this one clearly is, and then gapped and filled to the downside, and that downside took us to 77.73. Yeah, I got faked out by that one. So tiny. I don't really care to mark out the tiny ones because your deviations will close it out eventually. Now what is happening on the monthly? Let's just go to the monthly because I also want to point out something. Oops. I am creating a watch list, and there were a few more that I wanted to add to this, not as a buy right now, but something to watch, because I'm going to build out a list of 20 tickers that I think have potential to the upside. So I'm going to have to add to this, and I don't have my list in front of me. I don't know where the heck it is, but watch out for that. And microchip, I started the list with this at 58.23. Okay, let me go to the 5-minute and show you something. 58.23. Hit Option R to reset. Right here is when I started my list. And again, you're on a different time frame. Good Lord. Now I got to go to let's go to the 45-minute and see if I can see it better. Yep. Just switch your time frames if you need to. Okay, now I'm going to go back to the 5 and see if I can see it. Yeah. All right, when I pointed this out, roughly that was here, and the RSI was right around here. Then we rode up on the 5. Let me get rid of this. From here to here, resistance, 7%. So you could have ridden this thing all the way up to 7%, and then obviously now we're giving it all back. That's what makes trading lucrative. Get in, get up, get out. Or you short it, but it fell down even more here and here and here, and then you could have bought it down here for a ride up to here. That is a 6% return. All right, now I'm going to go to, enough with microchip. I'm going to go to HOLO. And the reason I'm not doing Intel, even though it's at the top of my list here, because I go over Intel in my gap and go trades, and I do that once a week. So that gets boring looking at it. All right. It's just basically hovering around this price, and then down to like 19. There was a time I think it got into the $18 range last week or the week before. I'll show you that later. All right, now I'm going to go to HOLO. I know a lot of people were interested in this. Look at this. Volume, 160 million. The average is 18. What happened? Let's take a look. All right, in case you don't know, Microcloud Hologram engages in research, development, and application of holographic technology. It operates through the holographic solutions and service segments. The company was founded in 2020 during COVID and is headquartered in New York. So this is where we are at support. You know what happens at support. To the north side of that takes us to another level of support and a potential take profit area. And that is at roughly 696. Above that, 905, and don't hold your breath, 1008, and don't hold your breath there either at 1115. You'll definitely want to exhale if you get there and then sell off, because if it should wick up to that level, I will anticipate it to fall down quickly as people take their profits and they run. They will lock in and they will leave, and that's exactly what they did here. So to the south side of that takes us to roughly 392, a gap forms. That's 280. The gap closes to the downside at roughly 240. So if you like to go short, that is a potential area where I will see, I think I will see a rebound to the north side. And the RSI turning down though, so we are at support. It might go to another level of support. And then look at this. All it did, whenever you see this institutional basing right there, there's always an explosion to the upside when it's ready to take off. I'll show you that in a moment on the bigger time frame. So we were grinding along, up a leg, grinding along, and then boom, up and past resistance, grinding along the middle of the trend, got another leg up to resistance, a sell-off, going sideways, another level of resistance, and boom, sell-off. This gap closed. We closed down, so I anticipate it to fill to the upside, and it did at roughly 594, bounce off support, and now we are at, well, then it went up to resistance, fell down, back up to resistance for another try, could not keep the momentum, and then now I'm going to anticipate a bounce, but still going down. So even though we could bounce a little bit off there, it could go down to here following that. On the daily time frame, look at that basing here. And then look at that. Fell down, exploded. What the heck? This clearly, so they did some sort of a, what do you call that? It's happened to so many times on tickers I've tracked, a split or whatever. But look, fell back down, grinding along from 2022. Well, that's roughly September 22 till January 23-ish. And then boom. And look at it, gives it all back. This is dangerous. Dangerous to play. Put a stop loss in for sure. All right, to the north side, I'm going to give you some levels. Should we be so lucky to get to $166.96, the middle of the trend on the daily takes us to roughly, in the negatives, forget that. And then this level, it'll recalculate though. Should we get to that level, but slowly still grinding down. And what happened here? So we had earnings on September 20th. I really don't go over fundamentals. Well, I don't on this channel. I go over technical trading, but if you want to look like some of the other traders here, they will go over the earnings, the PEG, the beta, all kinds of analytics for you. Price to earnings ratio, I don't do any of it because I let the institutions do it, and if they've got it in their fund, it's good enough for me. But it has to be at the right price if I'm buying it as an individual ticker, which I like to do. Okay, I'm going to go over NVIDIA very quickly, and then I'm going to get on my treadmill. My goal for the new year is to get on my treadmill for 30 days straight. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I'm going to try. All right, 134.29 to the north side takes us to the middle of the trend on the daily at 152.57. To the south side, back at the middle of the trend and the baseline, and where we've been in the past, 132.41. This gap has already closed. This gap is still open to the downside at 119.18. This one will take us to 114. We are moving upward though, again on the daily, so keep that in mind. Just these are things to be aware of should we retrace. And who knows if we'll ever get back to these levels. Oh my gosh, yeah, I don't think so. And what else? These lines represent the weeks that I looked at this ticker just for gap closures. And then I took it off of the list of tickers I go through once they hit my target. All right, that's it for NVIDIA. Now to the 5-minute. For Thursday's price action, what is going to happen? Well, the middle of the trend takes us now to roughly 135.42. That is resistance. We're going down, but if we go sideways, this could act as resistance from where we are and bounce. Whether we're either going to shoot through that or continue to use this as resistance, and we hit that and then fall back down. But right now, still going down, and I think it'll curl up. Well, let me get rid of that. 138.67, 140.19, and another level of resistance, which was also the middle of the trend previously before price started to tank, 141.61 to the south side. this level, 132.41, 130.80, and wait, was that 130.80? 77.80, whatever, give or take. 129.23, and this gap closed, that gap closed, and then those gaps, as I mentioned previously, sell off at resistance, 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 and then making our way slowly down. All right, that does it for me. I want to wish you a happy new year. I appreciate you watching, and thank you so much for subscribing. I can't believe I actually cracked the 600 mark for subscribers, and that's shocking to me. And I know that I trade in a very funky, kind of a weird way, and most people haven't seen that before, but I've tried different things. I can't do it. This is the easiest thing for me. I'm a very simple person. I'm a simpleton, and it works. So I like to keep it basic. All right, thank you so much, and have a great trading day.